You have reached Red Steele's Toy Collector Review. I'm your man, Red Steele, and today I'll be reviewing from Transformers Legacy Evolution, Bombers. Transformers Legacy Evolution Bombers. But before I get to the actual review, I just want to go over some of the spectacular details on this packaging. Up front here, two display windows showing you both the figure and all its accessories inside. On the top flap here, you have this beautiful illustration of Bombers in the Cybertronian jet mode. And next to that, you have the Takara Tomy Transformers Generation logo. Then on top of the packaging here, you have the Transformers Legacy Evolution logo. Then on the front of the packaging here in the very corner, you have this 8+, which is an age requirement for this figure. Then alongside here it says Transformers. Below that, you have the Transformers Legacy Evolution logo. And on the very bottom it says Bombers. And next to that, you have the Hasbro emblem. Then on the side of the packaging here, you have this beautiful illustration of Bombers, this time in his robot mode. Then on the other side of the packaging here, you have this beautiful montage of all the Transformers in Transformers Legacy Evolution, starting with Armada Optimus Prime. In the corner you have the Nemesis, below that you have Laser Optimus Prime, below that you have Hotshot, and at the very bottom here you have the Junkions versus the Insecticons. Down here you have the Transformers Authentic logo, and below that you have the Transformers Legacy Evolution logo. On the back of the packaging here, at the very top here says Bombers. In the middle here reveal all the figures features, starting with Bombers in his robot mode and Bombers in his Cybertronian jet mode. And down here you have the Hasbro emblem. Transformers Legacy Evolution Core Class Bombers. Bombers was released on June 1st, 2023 with the suggested retail price of $9.99, and he was available at all major retailers. Bombers was released along with the other Transformers Legacy Evolution Core Class Wave 2 figures, Grimlock, Nemesis Prime, and Thundercracker. Bombers is a Generation 1 inspired figure that converts to a Cybertronian jet mode in 9 steps. His accessories include 2 wing laser blasters, axe, and instructions. Bomber stands 3.5 inches tall and he is meant for fans ages 8 and up. Now I'm going to go ahead and convert Bombers from his robot mode all the way to a Cybertronian jet mode. But the first thing you always want to do before you transform any of your Transformers, you want to remove all their weapons and accessories. So we'll do this axe. I'll put it off to the side for now. Because first up in the transformation, you have these blasters right there and right there. We're going to turn that blaster up just like that. Do that to the other side to that blaster and turn it up just like that. This is step number 2. We'll turn Bombers all the way around. You have this backpack right here. You want to take that backpack, bring it out just like that. This is step number 3. You have double jointed hinge right there. You want to bring this backpack all the way up and over just like that. This is step number 4. Right at the waist, you want to take this whole top piece and rotate it around just like that. This is step number 5. You have this heel piece right there and right there. You have a hinge joint right there and right there. So let's bring that heel piece down just like that. Do that to the other side, bring that heel piece down just like that. This is step number 6. You have this foot now. You want to bring that foot down just like that. Do that to the other side, bring that foot down just like that. This is step number 7. With this whole leg piece, there's a ball socket joint right at the hip. I want to bring it up just like that. We're going to do that to the other side, bring that leg piece up just like that. This is step number 8. You have a tab right there and right there. You have a porthole right there and right there. I want to bring that leg up so that tab goes right in that porthole just like that. Do that to the other side, bring that leg up, put it right in that porthole just like that. Here's the 8th and final step. You want to go and grab that X again. And even with that second prong right there, there's a little porthole right there. You want to kind of force it in just like that. And now you have Bombers in his full Cybertronian jet mode. Now that I have Bombers in his Cybertronian jet mode and on my display table, I just want to go over some of his play features. And And as you saw in the final step of the transformation, we went ahead and armed Bombers with all of his weapons. The axe right here became the cannon, and the forearm cannon just turned up and became his wings. You also have the laser mounted cannons on the side here. Very, very nicely done. There is a lot of great mold detail on this figure. It's very nicely done. You have some paint deco details for turbine engines right there and right there. But it's a very nicely done figure, and I like the fact that they molded the canopy for the cockpit out of separate red plastic. They put a lot of love into this figure, but the one thing that falls short when it comes to the Pretenders that were ported over to Legacy is the scale consistency. Because in Wave 1 of at least Legacy, Iguanus came out, and he was a core class figure. So I just assumed maybe all the Pretenders that would come out for Legacy and beyond were going to be core class figures. But later on they released Skullgrin and Metalhawk as deluxe class figures. So I'm not sure if they're trying to satisfy both continuities, because as you might know, in the US the continuity was these were large robots or regular scale robots that had large human shells that came over them, which didn't make much sense when it came to maybe playing with your toys, because if you got a human size whatever, they should be human sized and the robot side would be much smaller. Well, in Japan, the human were regular humans that were disguised, and they blended in with the normal population, and when they transformed into the robots, they were larger scale robots. So it's kind of like a morphing thing like the Power Rangers, at least in Japan. So I'm not sure the smaller core class, at least the vehicle, and well, we'll get into the robot segment of it, because they did something very special with the Legacy Pretenders, which I think is really, really cool. But I think that what they did was they're trying to satisfy both continuities, and maybe, you know, they're going to bring out each and every Pretender, both in core class and the deluxe class, which I think is really, really cool. But this figure is really nicely done, and it looks almost identical, or a nice upgrade from the generation version of Bombers. And I'm going to go ahead and bring him in, do a side-by-side comparison, because this version of Bombers was very basic, because they didn't really want to sacrifice too much, because there was so much going on with the gimmicks and this mold, because they wanted to keep it so simple, but was able to convert and fit into that Pretender shell, which I'll show you later on. But the transformation was so basic, and you kind of see where the robot comes into place. Where you see that the back of the Cybertronian jet has the head right here, and you see the legs and the arms and the fist. Well, with Legacy, they did a better job concealing all that, so you don't really see a lot of robot there. I mean, to the untrained eye, it would just look a futuristic jet or something. Very nicely done. But I'm going to rotate this around so you can see what they look like from all angles, and you can kind of compare them and see the likenesses and differences between both figures. I think I'm more in favor of the Legacy version of Bombers, and that's very unlike me, because usually I tend to favor the Generation 1 version of the vehicle modes, because my theory is Takara and Hasbro engineered, you know, the robot out of the vehicle modes, as opposed to Legacy where they engineered the vehicle out of the robot mode. So the vehicle modes in Legacy War for Cybertron and Series 2 kind of fall a little bit short. I mean, they're still great, it's just they're not perfect. And I would have to say that I would favor more the Legacy version of Bombers. It's very, very nicely done. Now that Bombers in his robot mode and on my display table, I once again want to go over some of his play features and accessories. First, I talk about his cannons. And Bombers comes with 2 of these cannons, and according to the instructions, we're on these cannons on Bombers while he's in his robot mode. You do that because on the side of the cannon right here, you have a 5mm porthole. Each one of his forms is a 5mm peg, right there and right there. See that cannon is plug it right in one of those pegs, just like that. Do that to the other side, take that cannon and just plug it right in one of those 5mm pegs. And now you have Bombers armed with both of his cannons. The next accessory I want to go ahead and bring in is his axe. According to the instructions, we're going to arm this axe while Bombers is in his robot mode. You do that because on the bottom of the axe right here, you have a little peg. Each one of his has a little porthole right there and right there. Just plug that axe right in one of those portholes, and now you have Bombers fully armed with all of his weapons. But also according to the instructions, we're going to store all these weapons on Bombers while he's in his robot mode. You do that because you go ahead and take the axe and the blaster. The next thing you want to do is you want to take this backpack here, flip it out. So you want to make some clearance. You got this little porthole right here. Once with the axe, you get that second prong right there. It's a little tricky, but you gotta angle it perfectly so it just pegs right into place, just like that. Next thing you want to do is you want to go and grab the blaster. But a unique feature of this blaster is on one side here, you get this gray decal right here, and you get this organic mold detail right here. That's because the original Generation 1 bomb burst had little wings on his shoulders, and they want you to go ahead and just plug that right into the backpack. You got a peg right there. You do much like you did for the forearm, just go and plug it right in that peg just like that. When going to do that to the other side, grab that blaster and just peg it right into place just like that. Now you have all the accessories stored while he's in robot mode, and you kind of have that makeshift wing that's supposed to be behind his shoulder. So it's a nice little feature, nice little nod to Generation 1. But this figure is really nicely done. A lot of great mold detail. And what a Pretender was for Generation 1, and there's a couple continuities. I know I kind of discussed a little bit earlier on, but there were little shells and they hid little robots. And the international storyline for the Pretenders was there were large shells that contained regular sized Transformers, and they bursted open, and the shells would come together and they would fight side by side with these empty shells, which made no sense. And I know the US comic book touched upon it a little bit, and still didn't really gel too well. I guess what some of the Pretenders were out in space, and you know, the robots split outside the shell and they did battles with the Decepticons. But the Japanese continuity made a little bit more sense, where the Transformers were hiding in little human-sized shells or bodies, whatever you want to call it. And whenever they transformed into the robot modes, they morphed into like a larger scale robot, which made a little more sense. And the monsters from the Decepticons kind of blended into the population, kind of haunted, and kind of maybe it was origin to some of the mythological beasts throughout time, and they kind of blended with the population. But the Autobots ended up containing them until they got released in Master Force. But that's pretty cool that, you know, the scale inconsistency might play into both continuities. I know the smaller here plays more into the Japanese continuity, and the deluxe size like Metal Hawk and I believe it was Skullgrin played more into the US continuity or international continuity. So I do love that they did bring these out in both scales. And I'm hoping they release every single Pretender in both scales too, to kind of cater to both continuities. But it's very, very cool. But I'm not a big fan of storing the weapons in this mode because it kind of, the backpack protruding out doesn't make much sense. I'm going to take the axe and the blasters out. I'm going fully armed bomb burst once again. And I think it's really cool how you arm bomb burst in this mode, because this is how you arm them in Generation 1, which I do have on hand to a side-by-side comparison, which I'm going to bring out right now. And as you can see, what it was the Legacy, they did something unique with the Pretenders, where they kind of took the shell and the robot and kind of did a little hybrid, where they took both features and put it into one, which is really, really nicely done. And they did that with the way you armed bomb burst in this robot mode, much like he did with the shell, which I'm going to do right now. I'm going to show you the pretty much the gimmick behind the US or the international version of the Pretenders. Let me go ahead and adjust my camera. So what it was like I mentioned earlier on, the robots hid inside these shells that popped open. And what would happen is they came out of these shells, they would transform into robot mode, and they would battle side by side with their shells. And these shells were hollowed out shells. I'm going to go ahead and convert Bomb Burst into his robot mode real quick, and it's very simple transformation. And even with this weapon, and I don't know if the feet will hold him up, I hope it will, and you take his weapon here, and you go ahead and you unpeg it, and you go and you mount it into his form, much like you did with the Legacy version of Bomb Burst. And as you can see, let me go and put them all side by side. With the other versions of the Pretenders, they took both the shell and the robot, and they did like a hybrid thing where they combined it, took the best of both worlds and put it right into that robot mode. Well, it looks like they just stayed with the shell, because Bomb Burst has a really cool looking shell, and even for Generation 1, it's well proportioned. It's very nicely done, because the other Pretender shells were kind of blocky looking. I mean, they weren't very proportioned. This one's very proportioned. Like I mentioned earlier on, you get the wings right here, which were the wings that were on the back of the blaster right here. Yeah, that organic detail. And they tried to port it over the best they could with the backpack feature, but I mean, I'm not a big fan of it, so I'm going to just leave Bomb Burst armed that way. But as you can see, the cannons are armed the same way as they did the robot mode in Generation 1. That's the only feature that carried on from the robot mode, because I don't see a lot of other features. Most of the features carried over from the shell, which is very unique because, like I said, the other Pretenders, I'm not talking Metal Hawk, because Metal Hawk was the Autobot, and Metal Hawk was designed right from the inside shell. There was no combining the human elements with Metal Hawk because there's no need to. But I think it's really cool that they took more of the shell features for the robot mode and ported that over and maintained an actual vehicle mode. Very, very nicely done. But I'm going to rotate these around so you guys see all the similarities, differences on your own. Very nicely done, and as you can see, I mean, with a lot of Generation 1, it's so hard to keep them on their feet because they're so proportioned when it's like they're top heavy or bottom heavy, but they have a hard time standing on their own, which I'm having issues with that right now. But I'm going to take the Generation 1 versions of this figure and put them off to the side. I want to go ahead and talk about Bombers. He's very, very nicely done. Lots of points of articulation, and even the proportions done nicely, and even the features are done real nicely. I want to go ahead and just kind of track him so you guys can see him in focus. Very nicely done. There's a lot of like great mold detail, a lot of great paint that go too. Like you have gold eyes here, and even the blue on the ears here. It's kind of like a metallic luster to it. So if you shine to certain angles of light, it's very, very nicely done. You get that dull luster. This figure is really, really nice done for a core class figure. I just wish they can't kind of stay consistent with all the Pretenders. Either release every single figure in core class and in deluxe, or just don't do it at all. I really do dig what they're doing with core class, and I know they did try to bring over some of the Pretenders in Titans Returns in the smaller scales, the Minicon scales. I'm not sure what they might classify that now, but they opened up, they had little shells that opened up in their forms, and they transformed into weapons or little energy packs. But I'm very, very happy with Bombers. I would highly recommend picking them up. And for $9.99 core class, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck because they did a great job with Bombers. But if you guys found any of the information in this review valuable, please like and share this video. Also, if you really enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel. And while you're there, click the bell to be notified of any future videos. I want to thank you guys for watching Red Steele's House Toy Collector Review. I'll check you guys out next time.